Perfect. I'll now write the full 5,000-word Stoic-style speech on the topic vows. If someone ignores you, don't do these 3 mistakes. Set the tone will be suave, deep, calm, reflective, slow, philosophical, and meditative, written for a YouTube-style voiceover. No headings, no mention of Stoicism, and no explicit conclusion paragraph. Here we go. When someone ignores you, something within you shifts. It's not always loud, not always visible, but it's there, a small silence that begins to echo inside you. You start to question, not the other person, but yourself. You begin to wonder if you did something wrong, if you weren't enough, if somehow you've lost the place you thought you held. And in that space between your thoughts and your emotions, you stand at a crossroads. It's here where people make their greatest mistakes. The first mistake is believing that your worth is connected to someone's attention. When someone ignores you, your mind will try to convince you that their silence defines your value. It will whisper that if they don't respond, you must be unimportant. But the truth is, indifference from others cannot erase what is already within you. A diamond remains a diamond even when buried in darkness. The value doesn't disappear because no one is looking at it. Yet most people spend their lives chasing eyes rather than light. You cannot force someone to see your worth. You can only embody it. When someone ignores you, don't rush to prove yourself. Don't perform for their approval or bend your spirit for their attention. Their silence is their mirror, not yours. Their distance is their choice, not your fault. When you begin to understand this, you start to take back your power. The second mistake is reacting emotionally. Silence can hurt more than words. It creates confusion, insecurity, and pain. And in that pain, you want to respond. You want to call, text, demand answers, or explain yourself. You want to break the silence because it feels unbearable. But reacting from emotion rarely leads to wisdom. It only strengthens the control that others have over your peace. When you react, you give your power away. You become a servant to your emotions instead of their observer. The wise understand that not every absence needs to be filled, and not every silence needs to be broken. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to remain still, to watch without responding, to feel without being consumed. Silence becomes your teacher when you stop fearing it. When someone ignores you, don't rush to fill the emptiness with noise. Sit with the discomfort. Let the stillness reveal what it needs to. Sometimes the silence of another person only shows you the noise within yourself. The parts of you that still crave validation, that still fear rejection, that still need to be seen to feel real. When you learn to find peace even when you're unseen, you've reached a level of inner strength that no one can touch. The third mistake is closing your heart completely. Some people, after being ignored, build walls so high that no one can ever enter again. They confuse self-respect with isolation, wisdom with withdrawal, and peace with numbness. But when you close yourself off to protect your heart, you also shut out love, connection, and growth. The key is not to close your heart. It's to keep it open while learning to guard it wisely. Don't let someone's silence turn you into stone. Let it turn you into water, calm, reflective, adaptable, but never desperate. Water doesn't chase, it flows. It doesn't beg to be noticed. It simply moves where it is meant to go. And yet, nothing can resist it for long. That's how you must be. Unmoved by neglect, unwavering in value, unshaken by distance. There will be moments when you feel the ache of absence so deeply that you think you can't endure it. But this is exactly where growth happens. In the unseen, in the unacknowledged, in the ignored. The world doesn't always reward kindness, loyalty, or love with reciprocity. Sometimes you'll give everything and receive silence in return. But that doesn't mean you gave in vain. It means you gave from a place of truth, and truth doesn't demand applause. When someone ignores you, you are given a rare opportunity. The chance to see what remains when nothing external validates you. The chance to stand alone without collapsing. The chance to witness the depth of your own self-worth. The ones who master this moment become untouchable, not because they don't feel, but because they no longer need others to confirm what they already know. Every person who ignores you is unknowingly giving you a gift. The chance to practice detachment. The chance to test your peace. The chance to rise above reaction. You will realize, in time, that those who ignore you cannot take anything real from you. They can only take illusions. The illusion that you needed them. The illusion that their attention made you whole. Remember, those who are truly at peace don't chase. They don't beg to be seen. They understand that being ignored doesn't lower their worth. It reveals the other person's awareness. Some people are blind to light, not because the light is dim, but because their eyes are closed. The more you evolve, the less you will take things personally. You will stop asking, "Why did they ignore me?" and start asking, "Why does their silence affect me?" Because the real lesson is not about them. It's about your attachment to being noticed. Every time you crave acknowledgement, you surrender your peace. And every time you detach from that craving, you return to your center. Don't try to interpret someone's silence. You will only create stories in your mind that feed your pain. Silence doesn't always mean rejection. Sometimes it means confusion, distraction, or fear. But even if it does mean rejection, let it be. Rejection is just redirection. The people meant for your path will recognize your energy without you having to shout for their attention. Life has a way of removing those who no longer align with your frequency. Don't chase those who walk away. Let them go so space can open for what's meant to stay. Trying to convince someone to see your value is like trying to explain the sun to someone who refuses to open their eyes. Don't waste your light. Simply keep shining. Eventually, the right eyes will find you. And yet, even as you grow stronger, don't let bitterness enter your heart. It's easy to say, "I don't care." But indifference is often just pain wearing armor. True peace isn't about pretending you're unaffected. It's about being deeply aware and still choosing serenity. Let your detachment be gentle, not cold. Let it come from understanding, not pride. If someone ignores you, they've chosen silence. But you can choose presence. You can choose to remain grounded, calm, and kind. Not for them, but for yourself. That is your power. To remain who you are, regardless of how others treat you. There's a quiet strength in those who refuse to beg for attention. They don't chase closure. They don't demand validation. They know that what's meant for them will always recognize them. And what doesn't, never truly belonged. When you begin to live with that awareness, you stop being shaken by temporary shadows. Life is full of these moments. People drifting, fading, disappearing. But each disappearance teaches you how to hold yourself, how to sit with the ache and still find peace, how to love deeply without attachment, how to stay soft in a world that sometimes rewards hardness. There's no need to seek revenge, explanation, or justification, just silence. Because silence is not weakness, it's a statement. It says, "I've learned to value my energy." It says, "I don't need to chase what's already leaving." It says, "I trust that everything that departs is making space for something greater." Don't make the mistake of overanalyzing. The mind can turn silence into a storm, creating reasons that don't exist, turning small things into wounds. Don't let your imagination become your tormentor. Instead, observe your thoughts like waves, passing on the surface of a vast ocean. Beneath them, the depth remains still. That stillness, that's you. You will meet people who seem to forget your kindness, who ignore your efforts, your care, your presence. And it will hurt. But don't forget, the sun rises every morning, whether people look up or not. It doesn't shine for validation. It shines because it is its nature. Let that be your nature too. To be ignored is not to be diminished. To be overlooked is not to be unseen by life itself. The universe watches everything, not through eyes, but through energy. Your sincerity, your patience, your quiet dignity, these never go unnoticed. The rewards of calm cannot always be seen immediately, but they are felt deeply over time. One day, you'll look back and realize that being ignored was not rejection. It was protection. It spared you from being where your energy was not respected. It redirected you to places where you could be valued without effort. And in that realization, you'll feel gratitude, not bitterness. You'll understand that nothing real ever needs to be forced. Love that is real flows naturally. Respect that is real doesn't need reminders. Attention that is real doesn't fade with time. So, if someone ignores you, let them. You are not losing them. You are simply learning who they truly are. Don't make the mistake of lowering yourself to be seen. Never shrink to fit into someone's vision of you. Those who can't see your light from where they stand are not meant to walk beside you. And those who can will never need convincing. The world teaches you to chase, to prove, to earn love by effort. But wisdom teaches you the opposite. To rest, to be, to trust that what's aligned will come without struggle. You don't need to run after what's leaving. You need only to walk forward in grace. There's an invisible power in restraint, in not reacting, not explaining, not pleading. You preserve your dignity by allowing silence to speak for you. Those who ignore you today may remember you tomorrow, but by then, you'll have outgrown the need for their acknowledgement. Your strength lies not in making others see you, but in seeing yourself clearly when no one else does. You don't need validation to exist fully. You don't need attention to be significant. You don't need constant reassurance to remain worthy. The moment you realize that their silence has no power over you, you become free. Free from the need to impress, free from emotional dependency, free from the cycle of reaction. You stop being controlled by absence and start being guided by presence. Even when you're ignored, remain kind. Not because they deserve it, but because peace is your natural state. The ones who ignore you teach you something precious. How to love without attachment. How to give without expectation. How to walk away without anger. So, when you find yourself being ignored, remember, don't make the mistake of losing yourself trying to be seen. Don't make the mistake of reacting from pain. And don't make the mistake of closing your heart. Instead, remain still, remain gentle, remain aware. Their silence is not your defeat. It is your teacher. It teaches you that your value was never meant to depend on the noise of others, but on the stillness within yourself. And when you master that stillness, when you stop needing to be seen to feel real, you become untouchable. Not because you are above others, but because you have learned to stand firm in your own light. All right, I'll continue the same stoic, meditative tone, adding more depth and flow, extending the same speech seamlessly. No headings, no mention of stoicism, just continuation, calm, reflective, philosophical, and emotionally steady. 2. When someone ignores you, time itself slows down. The seconds stretch into thoughts, and the silence begins to whisper questions you never planned to ask. Why did they change? Why did they drift? Why does it hurt to be unseen? These questions begin to loop like echoes in a cave, and if you are not careful, they consume your peace. But the truth is, sometimes silence has no reason. People fade not because of you, but because of the season of their soul. You are not meant to chase every drifting leaf. You are meant to stand like the tree, rooted, patient, unbending in your worth. When you stop chasing answers, you begin to find peace. The mistake most people make is to search endlessly for reasons, as if understanding someone's silence will make it hurt less. But sometimes, understanding is not healing. Acceptance is. You heal the moment you stop demanding explanations. You heal the moment you stop arguing with reality. You heal the moment you say, maybe this is how it was meant to be. And it's not resignation. It's release. You are not giving up. You are growing up. You are learning that peace doesn't come from control. It comes from surrender. Every time someone ignores you, the universe gives you another chance to practice surrender, to let go of your attachment to being chosen and return to your own wholeness. The heart that learns to let go gracefully becomes powerful, because power is not in holding tightly. It's in knowing you can survive without what you wanted. It's in knowing that your soul remains untouched, even when your ego feels bruised. The more you practice this, the lighter you become. You start to move through life with ease, not because life gets easier, but because you stop resisting what's already gone. Don't let the ignorance of others make you forget who you are. Some people ignore not out of cruelty, but out of confusion. Others ignore because they can't handle depth. They can't face the mirror your presence holds up to them. Some ignore because they are lost within themselves. Don't make their blindness your burden. If you spend your life trying to be seen by everyone, you will lose sight of yourself. You will live performing, explaining, convincing, and that is not living, that is begging for existence. The moment you decide that your worth doesn't depend on their recognition, you step out of the prison you didn't even know you built. You begin to walk freely, quietly, powerfully, untethered. Sometimes, the one who ignores you today will think of you tomorrow, but by the time they remember, you'll be beyond their reach. Not out of pride, but because your growth will have taken you somewhere they cannot follow. That is how life works. Silence becomes distance, and distance becomes transformation. The same silence that once hurt you becomes sacred. You start to treasure your own company. You begin to realize that solitude is not emptiness. It's clarity. It's the space where you meet yourself again, without noise, without distraction, without the masks you wear for others. There's a kind of peace that only silence can teach. It teaches you patience. It teaches you balance. It teaches you not to take things personally. You realize that not every message deserves a reply. Not every absence deserves pursuit. Not every loss deserves mourning. You learn that sometimes the best way to respond is not to respond at all. Stillness becomes strength. You stop chasing closure because you understand that closure is not something others give you. It's something you give yourself. You don't need their apology to find peace. You don't need their validation to move forward. You don't need their acknowledgement to feel worthy. Those who ignore you will one day face their own silence. Because everything we give to others, life eventually returns to us, not as punishment, but as reflection. And when that day comes, may you be so at peace that you don't even notice. That is the true victory. When you reach a place where nothing external can disturb your inner stillness, the world will keep testing your patience. People will appear and disappear, speak and fall silent, care and then forget. But the lesson repeats until you learn it. That your peace cannot depend on the consistency of others. It must come from the unshakable foundation within you. If someone ignores you, remember this: their silence does not reduce your light. It only reveals who sees it and who doesn't. And not everyone is meant to. Some people are only meant to pass by your life to teach you what not to tolerate, what not to chase, what not to lose yourself for. Do not try to remind them of your value. The ones who forget never truly saw it. You cannot make someone recognize gold if they're used to stones. You cannot make someone see truth if they prefer illusion. So, walk away quietly. Let your silence speak where your words once pleaded. The greatest peace you'll ever feel comes from not needing to explain yourself. From simply living in truth. Even when others misunderstand you, when someone ignores you, they are showing you how much energy you've been giving to someone who doesn't have the capacity to return it. Take that energy back. Pour it into yourself. Build something beautiful with it. People will come and go, but your growth must remain. Their absence must never stop your evolution. You are allowed to outgrow the need to be seen. You are allowed to evolve beyond the craving for attention. The moment you do, you'll find a quiet joy that cannot be touched. And in that stillness, you'll realize something extraordinary. That the silence of others is not the end of connection, but the beginning of self-awareness. That every unanswered call is an invitation to listen to your own voice. That every ignored message is a reminder to speak kindly to yourself. That every closed door is a redirection to your own inner home. Your worth was never supposed to depend on how others respond to you. You existed long before their attention, and you will exist long after it fades. So hold your head high. Let their silence echo while your soul sings quietly. Let your calmness confuse the noise. Let your detachment free you from invisible chains. You do not have to react to every absence. You do not have to chase every answer. You do not have to explain every silence. Sometimes, the most profound strength is to smile softly, breathe deeply, and say nothing. You'll notice that the more peace you cultivate, the less interested you become in forcing anything. You stop chasing people. You stop proving your worth. You stop defending your truth. You simply exist in alignment, quietly, steadily, peacefully, and those who can sense peace will naturally be drawn to you. When someone ignores you, they might expect you to crumble. They might expect your energy to shrink. But instead, let your silence become your power. Let your restraint speak louder than your reaction. Let your calmness reveal what words never could. Eventually, they will wonder how you managed to stay so composed. But you will know, because you learned that their behavior was never about you. You stopped internalizing what was external. You stopped confusing neglect with reflection. You stopped giving others permission to dictate your emotional weather. The moment you stop reacting, you break the chain. You stop feeding the cycle, you rise. And rising doesn't always mean moving away physically. Sometimes it means standing so still that chaos cannot reach you. Silence, when mastered, becomes a language of the wise. It says everything without saying a word. It protects your energy, preserves your dignity, and commands respect. Those who can remain silent in the face of being ignored are not weak. They are unshakable. And as you continue your journey, you'll realize that every person who ignored you was simply part of your awakening. They taught you not to depend. They taught you not to beg. They taught you that peace begins where validation ends. So let them ignore you. Let them misunderstand you. Let them drift away if they must. Because when you stop fighting for attention, you start aligning with your true nature. You realize you were never meant to chase, only to flow. And one day, when you look back at all the moments you were ignored, you will smile, because those moments were not rejections. They were redirections. They led you to the version of yourself that no longer needs to be seen to shine. You will smile because you will finally understand. Nothing that truly belongs to you will ever require you to beg for it. Attention fades, affection shifts, people change, but peace remains. And that peace, once found, becomes your eternal companion. Understood. I'll continue expanding. Same tone, calm, reflective, slow, stoic in spirit, emotionally grounded, philosophical, meditative. This will be a direct continuation of your long-form speech. No headings, no names, no conclusion, just seamless flow. 2. Sometimes the most painful silence is not the one from others, but the one that forms within you. After you realize how much you used to care, it's the quiet that comes when you finally stop reaching out. You start to see things as they are, not as you wished them to be. You begin to accept that not everyone who smiles at you sees you, and not everyone who sees you knows how to value you. The mind tries to resist this truth, but the heart eventually learns to surrender to it. Because peace begins where illusions end. There's a sacred kind of peace that lives in letting go. When you stop trying to fix what refuses to be fixed, when you stop trying to be chosen by those who keep looking away, when you stop trying to explain your soul to people who can only see the surface, that's when you return to yourself. The ones who ignore you are not your enemies. They are your mirrors. They reflect the parts of you that still want to be seen, the parts that still need acknowledgement to feel worthy. And if you can face that mirror without bitterness, without resentment, you'll begin to heal from the inside. Because true healing is not about being noticed. It's about learning to exist fully, even when no one is watching. When you start valuing your silence more than their attention, you begin to evolve. You start to see how little you actually need from others to feel whole. You stop searching for yourself in their reactions. You stop measuring your worth by how quickly someone replies. You stop waiting for validation that never truly mattered. The mistake many make is thinking that being ignored is a reflection of their inadequacy. But it's not. Sometimes, it's a sign that your presence was too strong for their comfort, your energy too calm for their chaos, your truth too real for their illusion. Some people distance themselves, not because of who you are, but because you remind them of what they are not ready to face. You don't have to fix their perception of you. You don't have to chase to prove your purity. Let them misunderstand you. For silence always reveals truth in its own time, and the truth is patient. It doesn't need to shout to be heard. You will meet people who only come close when they need something. People who vanish the moment you stop giving. People who ignore you the second you set a boundary. Don't let their absence turn you cold. Let it refine you. Let it remind you that giving doesn't mean losing, and walking away doesn't mean bitterness. You can step back in silence and still wish them peace. That is how you keep your dignity intact. The strength to stay silent when provoked is the strength of someone who has mastered their emotions. The strength to not chase when ignored is the strength of someone who understands their worth. The strength to stay soft when hurt is the strength of someone who has chosen love over pride. And that is rare. That is wisdom. When someone ignores you, their silence becomes a test. It tests your patience, your ego, your need for validation. But every test that comes your way is a doorway to mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of peace, mastery of detachment. When you stop reacting, you start observing. And observation gives you power. You start to see patterns instead of taking things personally. You realize that their silence is not about your value. It's about their capacity. There are moments when you'll feel tempted to remind them of what they lost. To show them that you've moved on, that you're doing better, that their absence didn't destroy you. But even that is a form of reaction. You owe them nothing, not explanation, not performance, not proof. The best response is stillness. Let your silence be your statement, and your growth be your response. There's a certain beauty in not explaining yourself, in letting people think what they want while you continue to live in peace. You no longer have to defend your intentions when your conscience is clear. You no longer have to fight for space in places that were never meant for your soul. Those who ignore you today are teaching you how to value your own presence. They are showing you how to sit in the quiet without fear. They are helping you discover that your peace was never dependent on their attention. It only appeared to be. And once you've learned this, you'll stop chasing people altogether. Not because you've given up on connection, but because you've learned the art of alignment. You'll start to recognize that real connections don't require effort to sustain. They flow. They reciprocate. They nurture rather than drain. They bring stillness, not confusion. Those who ignore you are not destroying you. They are refining you. They are polishing away the parts that depend on approval. They are helping you discover a strength you didn't know existed. Sometimes life uses absence to teach presence. Sometimes the universe removes voices so you can finally hear your own. Don't waste your nights wondering why someone fell silent. Don't replay the moments or search for hidden meanings in every gesture. People come and go, not because of your worth, but because of their own journey. Everyone is fighting battles you cannot see. Some people disconnect to protect their peace. Others disappear because they cannot face yours. Whatever the reason, let them go with grace. The soul that can say, "I wish you peace," to those who ignored it, is a soul that has reached a higher understanding of love. Not the love that clings or demands, but the love that allows. Because true love, even for those who hurt you, sets you free. There will come a day when you will thank those who ignored you, because their silence forced you to turn inward. It pushed you to find your voice in solitude. It led you to the place where no one else's recognition could touch you. That place, that stillness, that's your sanctuary. Every time you choose not to react, not to chase, not to lower yourself, you strengthen that sanctuary. You add another stone to the foundation of your inner peace. And one day, no one's silence will ever shake it again. The more you grow, the quieter you become. You stop explaining. You stop defending. You stop trying to convince people of your goodness. You understand that truth doesn't beg to be seen. It simply exists, and those who can recognize it will naturally find their way to you. Life is a series of arrivals and departures. Don't chase those who have departed. Let them walk their path while you continue on yours. If paths are meant to cross again, they will. And if not, then the lesson was already served. Every silence, every distance, every ending carries a seed of wisdom. If only you are still enough to notice. The ones who ignore you may one day come back, not because they changed, but because they recognize the peace they once overlooked. But by then, you'll be different. You'll welcome them with understanding, but not attachment. You'll greet them with kindness, but not dependence. You'll know that you no longer need them to complete anything within you. There's a kind of freedom that comes only after being ignored enough times. You begin to see how fleeting attention really is. You stop chasing moments. You stop clinging to temporary warmth. You start valuing what is steady, what is quiet, what doesn't demand your energy to exist. And eventually, you realize you were never being ignored. You were being redirected toward yourself, toward the peace you'd been searching for in others, toward the stillness that never abandons you. So when someone ignores you, don't lose yourself trying to be noticed. Don't fall into the illusion that their silence means your absence of worth. Don't let their distance make you doubt your light. Instead, stand still in your truth, because silence, when accepted with grace, becomes your greatest strength.